What's up guys, it's Will back again, and today's review is Allied. And before you say anything, I know, different beanie this time, but I left my beanie at my mom and dad's for Thanksgiving, so here we are. But anyway, Allied is a World War II romantic thriller film that was directed by Robert Zemeckis and primarily follows a Canadian intelligence officer named Max Vitan, played by Brad Pitt, and a French resistance fighter named Marion, played by Marion Cotillard. This story takes place in the year 1942 during World War II, as Max and Marion are ordered to meet up in Casablanca to assassinate the German ambassador. They're pretending to be a married couple in order to blend in and gain access to key locations, but eventually the two break rule number one when it comes to these sort of missions: never fall in love. The two eventually do fall deeply in love, and after the mission's completion they head to London where they get married and soon after have a daughter named Anna. Well, a wrench is thrown in this whole happy ending when the Search Operations Executive, or SOE, informs Max that they believe his wife is a German spy, and in 72 hours they will know for sure. They give Max specific instructions that are designed to test Marianne, and if Marianne fails the test, Max must execute her himself or he will be hanged for treason. And the rest of the film is spent watching Max tensely attempt to test Marianne and hopefully clear her name, while all the while attempting to act like nothing's going on so he doesn't tip her off in any way. Okay, so when I watched the trailer for Allied, I was like, that looks alright I guess. I didn't go in expecting greatness, but I also didn't go in expecting a complete disaster either. And I think I got close to what I expected out of this one. It's a slightly above average film that's certainly not great, but not terrible either. It's pretty okay. I will however say that I think the trailer made it seem as if this was a full-on thriller film that delivers those really exciting, intense showdowns, but in reality those moments are sort of few and far between. The trailers were a bit misleading because while they do clearly show you that the main focus of the plot is the romantic relationship between Max and Marianne and whether Marianne is a German spy or not, they also made you think that there was going to be some intense action sprinkled in as well, but that's really not the case. The main problem I had with this film was the pacing. You know that exciting mission shootout scene you saw from the trailers? Yeah, it looked great, didn't it? And it is great, but it takes so long for it to actually happen, and it's pretty much the only exciting moment like that you get in the entire film. The first act is not likely to reel you in because you don't get much of anything that's really tense or exciting or anything like that. It just attempts to establish the characters, which is totally fine because that's really what a first act is generally for. But the problem lies in the boring fashion in which Allied does this. Generally, you want to sprinkle in some moments of excitement to keep the audience interested, but Allied just keeps chugging along with their character interactions for the first 40 or so minutes, which will likely be a departure from what you expected out of the film coming in. But I will say that the dialogue is very well written, and I for the most part enjoyed these character interactions that mostly felt pretty meaningful. Considering this is primarily a romance thriller film, you obviously need to have some quality interactions taking place between your characters or your film's probably gonna tank. I also felt the acting was pretty awesome. Max and Marianne get the vast majority of the screen time and are ultimately the only two characters of real significance, but I thought Brad Pitt and Marion Cotillard were both very good in this one. I didn't always 100% feel the romantic connection between the two in the way that would elevate this film to the level most hoped it would reach, but it's not like they had zero chemistry with one another or anything. Brad Pitt delivers a performance that feels pretty familiar, but I think it'll work for most people because Brad Pitt is a high-profile actor for a reason. People will generally enjoy his work, and this obviously isn't an Oscar-worthy performance or anything because the character isn't all that developed, but Brad Pitt did a solid job here. Marion Cotillard delivered the best performance in Allied because although she doesn't get as much screen time as Brad Pitt, I think she's asked to show a little bit more range than her romantic counterpart, and she definitely delivers. She's a really awesome actress, and her work in Allied falls in line with the rest of her work, except her death scene in The Dark Knight Rises, which to be fair wasn't all her fault. I also enjoyed the cinematography in Allied. This is a very nicely shot film that delivers some dramatic lighting and focuses on the character's emotions with close-up shots like I've mentioned in other videos before. There are several shots that are composed in a way that adds tension and suspense to the scene in which they take place. I think this helped better deliver those key thriller elements that most will be looking for out of this film. One last thing I didn't particularly enjoy about Allied was the ending. I think most of you are going to be able to see how this one plays out from a mile away, and that really didn't work for me personally. I think the filmmaker should have tried to subvert our expectations and at least attempt to surprise us. The problem with this straightforward ending is that the build-up isn't always done at a level that will leave you entertained. There are definitely boring stretches of time where you feel like the plot isn't really progressing, and in order to make make up for this, you need a strong and exciting climax and ending, and Allied delivers the opposite, sadly. But overall, I was decently satisfied with Allied. It has its strengths and weaknesses. I thought it had nicely written dialogue, very strong acting performances, and good cinematography. Sadly, I also felt the pacing was a bit off, the first act as a whole was fairly weak, the romance wasn't always felt, and the climax and ending were a bit disappointing. I'm gonna give Allied a 7.5 out of 10, and generally recommend you go see this one in theaters if you're looking for a decently done romance thriller film. So did you guys see Allied yet? What did you think of it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if not, let me know whether you'd be interested in watching this film or not. And as always, if you like this video, click that like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for much more content like this. That's all for now though. This is WillFoxification signing off. See you in the next review.